Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. I am Mikey,
I'm Tyler.
and we are Deep Red Pictures. Today we wanted to jump on and try something a little different. We are going to be kicking off our new fun little series called Let Me Explain. So what that is going to be is us taking basically kind of just nobody's favorite movie and kind of just trying to find the positives in it. I think something we both noticed in this space definitely is a lot of like negativity. Mostly negativity. And we thought it might be fun to try to, I don't know, find the positive in movies that generally aren't well received and don't get their flowers.
Yeah, so today we're going to be doing a nice spicy one. We're going to be doing Rob Zombie's Halloween 2, a movie that people are super civil towards.
Nobody's favorite movie, again. When did it come out? I believe 2009?
2009, yeah.
I remember sitting on upcominghorrormovies.com daily, and just every little morsel of news that could come out for this movie I was as excited for as one human could possibly be, because at the time I absolutely loved Rob Zombie's 2007 remake, because I didn't really understand at the time the intention of what Halloween actually was, and so like to me it was like, this is fun, it's this big hulking version of Michael Myers. It's fun.
It's like a generational thing almost.
Yeah. Now obviously I think we've all come to sour a little bit as time has gone on those movies. The rewatchability starts to, but there's one thing that was always clear and obvious, and that was that in 2009, when Rob Zombie released Halloween 2, most people were upset.
Yeah.
I was upset.
Rob Zombie was upset.
I went and saw it opening night. I was on a trip to Chicago, and I had like just landed, and it was like first order of business, let's get to a movie theater. And I had been sitting on upcominghorrormovies.com, just any update that I could find, and like it was like daily for this movie. And so I was beyond excited. I'm so eager to watch this thing. And then I remember the movie ends, and everybody that I'm with kind of just looks right at me to see, like, how'd you feel, dude? And I looked at everybody and was like, I think I need to see it again before I can say definitively if I hated it or enjoyed it or what.
Yeah, the first time I watched it, I didn't watch it until like a few years after it came out. I saw his 2007, the remake. My mom and I went to go see it like opening weekend. But after that, like the second one, like I just kind of forgot even came out. Like I wasn't really following movies the way I do today. I mean, I follow them closely, but Halloween wasn't one that was really on my radar. And when I finally did watch it, I'm like, it felt different, and I didn't know how to feel about it. I knew I didn't hate it, but I was like, do I really like it? Like, what? Like, it's just one of those things of like, how do I feel about this? I definitely welcome, especially as years gone on, I welcome the way that, I mean, his script writing has never been his strong suit, Rob Zombie's. What I did enjoy that he did was that he very much dialed back on the excessive, like, vulgarity that he typically has in his movies. Like, he
it's there, but it's toned down. It's a more isolated story.
It's not white trash like it usually is. So I think that because there's that common criticism from the 2007 movie where there's that breakfast table scene, and it's just the absolute most.
Yeah.
And you're like, wow.
I think everybody loves that Ronnie character, probably.
Yeah. But he successfully, like, unintentionally made Michael Myers the, like, 5th worst person in that scene by then. So, but...
Yeah, you're not really nailing it if your, like, antagonist is kind of viewed as...
You feel bad
for him?
Yeah.
Like...
Yeah, he killed a rat.
Way too sympathetic.
Exactly. Now, when I heard how people actually felt about this movie, I was like... I thought it was a little extreme. I mean, yeah, I can see why somebody wouldn't like it, but then again, I've always been kind of like level-headed enough to being like, oh, I can see why somebody would like this movie. I can see why somebody wouldn't like this movie. And I'm still that way, but I was like, that's the worst movie you've ever seen? Question mark. And if that's true, you've been living well.
I think a lot of people, like in particular when it comes to this movie and like movies like the Friday the 13th remake, people are like super 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 hyperbolic in those ways. Like, you know, like, this is the worst thing I've ever seen.
Yeah.
There's definitely way worse, and I think we've all seen way worse than any of these like remake era movies. But I do think that there is like something to be said for like Rob Zombie, you know, being this like, he clearly has an understanding of the genre. He has an understanding of like the tropes, the, you know, like the cliches and expectations and everything. Um, when you're dipping into a franchise like Halloween, it's such a specific thing. People are so set in their expectations in this franchise, and that's because of, you
It's
know,
an IP.
well, yeah, it's an IP, but it's also like, you know, like, you can go back and listen to John Carpenter after the release of almost any sequel, being like, "Yep, nope, they didn't understand it," you know, and this is no different, but it's almost more egregious in some ways.
Yeah.
It's a little bit more kind of like, well, bigger, for lack of
Yeah.
a better.
So just like a couple years ago when Halloween Ends came out and everyone's like, oh, this is the movie that we can hate now. I noticed that a lot of people were starting to kind of revisit Halloween 2 and sort of trying to find ways to kind of give it its flowers. Because it's not flawless. It's not flawless whatsoever.
Nope.
I do like how he mirrored the first movie, and sure, it almost, you know, came at the expense of making Michael Myers like a secondary character and made this more of Laurie's movie, since it's supposed to explore her kind of like
PTSD. And,
yeah, and her
descent
death into the insanity that Michael went under. But something that has always stuck out about this movie that I feel didn't work was, and I understand why it's in there, but like the whole white horse thing, I feel a lot of that was to shoe in his wife.
Yeah.
Because you can only do so many things with flashbacks. They already had to recast the kid because the other one from 2007 got too big. He grew up. But Rob Zombie still, I felt, made it work well enough to where it wasn't very distracting. And I did enjoy how he did the reveal for Laurie finding out that she was Michael's brother.
Yeah.
And like the biography kind of a thing.
I think so. To me, like, that's like the perfect segue into like a couple of my bigger issues with Rob Zombie's Halloween 2, and obviously this series, as we've said, is to kind of put more positivity into the space, but we also want to be realistic, and we also want to be honest about our opinions before we, you know, try to find some of those positives that absolutely do
it ain't
exist.
perfect.
But I think like that's my biggest issue with the movie in general is Rob Zombie's like fundamental misunderstanding of Dr. Loomis and Laurie Strode. I think there are such interesting ideas at play with making like Laurie this like grief-stricken, you know, individual, and up until that point in horror we hadn't really explored that. You know, you don't really see much of that in movies. So I think in that regard, like, that was a really cool swing, but the thing that I think was the misunderstanding is you made her kind of insufferable. You know, and so by the end of the movie, you're not really rooting for her, and I think, like, you're supposed to feel something when you're watching that, you know, that the final moments of the movie, when you're seeing her realize she's lost it, like, you're supposed to feel bad. You're supposed to feel like the good guy lost, and by the time you're done with that movie, you just really don't feel that way. And then, I mean, it's so much worse with Loomis. The point of Dr. Loomis is, yes, that insanity is there. Like, he's not mentally well. You know, like, dealing with this patient and this person has made him mentally unwell. The chase and the pursuit of this evil has done damage. in the sequel to the remake, it's almost like you took what was Dr. Loomis and
Hit
you
him an ass.
yeah,
Over the top.
for sure, but like it's like they leaned into the philosophical side of Loomis, like in by that I mean like the way he speaks, but not actually the philosophical side of Loomis. Like there's just such a misunderstanding of like the fundamentals of that character. Because if you do understand that character, and I get it's your own version, it's your retelling and stuff, but I don't. It doesn't read that way to me. It reads like we started here. Now Rob Zombie's got one hand on the wheel, and this is what he's gonna do with it. Um, he's the worst character I think debatably in almost any of Rob Zombie's movies, and that's fucking crazy to say, but like if you really break it down and think about how poorly handled that character's arc is, it's the worst. Fuck, Sherry Moon's arc in 31 is better.
Yeah, it's true. And she really had an arc.
Yeah.
She's just there most of the time.
Yeah, just screaming and running away until out of nowhere they're like, all right, we're gonna play Dream On and close this bitch out. Like, but it just when you grow up with the original movie in this franchise as your favorite movie of all time, you kind of have some not jurisdiction to have opinions or expectations of what a movie can be, because this is another creative's idea. But I do feel that within like a certain franchise like this, there are certain boxes that you do have to tick, and making Laurie Strode a protagonist that you can root for is a pretty good one.
Yeah.
Making Dr. Loomis,
Insufferable.
Like just making him like the Ahab character that he's supposed to be, like he's chasing that whale, and the point of the character is that chase, and to make him a greedy author who's only really chasing money and fame, you've gotten rid of anything that makes that character compelling, in my opinion.
Yeah, no, definitely same. When I did see this movie too, I went in overall pretty blind. I think I saw maybe like one teaser, but something that I did think was cool was he kind of, when it opened up and it was in the hospital, I thought he was just gonna redo the hospital setting of Halloween 2, the original Halloween 2. And I thought that was gonna be the whole movie. So I kind of like rolled my eyes a little bit at first. I'm like, okay, like I get why, but why? But then I like how he just used that as like an ultra like intense violent opening.
Yeah.
And then it just segues into like, oh, okay, so a year later or 2 years later, however long it was, now Laurie's really messed up. She hasn't recovered. Her friend's trying to recover, but she's too busy being this like almost like not mentor, but sort of like her guardian in a weird way. Like she's almost responsible for her.
Like big sistering her.
And I did like, and I know a lot of people didn't enjoy it, but I really did like how, sure, Michael Myers didn't have a mask on for like half the movie.
More than.
Yeah. But when he did put it on, like, you actually, or at least for me, felt like there was going to be a very sense of dread that comes with that brutality. Because now you know he's gonna murder somebody. Because in 2007, when he was a kid, he only did that when he had the mask on. Like when he beat that bully to death, that last scene he put it on. And I was like, okay. And I also want to say, too, that scene with, like, Octavia Spencer, when Michael Myers takes her ass out, that's probably, like, my favorite scene in the movie, just because, like, and I know people also hate it, but I think that the grunty worked for him in that movie, at least. Yeah. Not for all of them, but definitely that, because it felt more angry and more aggressive. You can think to yourself, like, oh, okay, this is a 6'9" man that's jamming a knife into another human being over and over and over. And, like, the grunting, I felt, enhanced, like, how much force he was really using. So, the little nitpicks, I feel like, for this iteration of Michael Myers, I felt worked well, but I feel like if you took that and you brought it into any other timeline, it would fall flat on its ass.
Yeah.
Like, I couldn't see Nick Castle grunting, you know.
No, but
it
there's
just
like
wouldn't work.
absolutely like things that like, and you know, obviously, I think this is kind of us segueing into those positives.
Yeah.
I think Tyler Mane in general brings something
Yeah.
very special to the role. Like,
Me too.
he might not be like the textbook, like what a true like hardcore Halloween like purist is looking for, but it is undeniable like that those two movies, no matter like if you remove the title, you remove the white mask and the characterization of all of it, they're fun. And it's because of him. Like he's such a force of nature in those movies. Like just the size of him and like what they choose to do with his size.
Yeah, I mean, like when I met him at Spookala, and like when I went to take a picture with him, and he stood up, it's like in that moment you see how much of a brute he really is. Because like I said, he's 6'9", so I think to myself, I'm like, okay, a man that size wearing a mask, being silent, is coming at you
with a big ass
with
knife.
a big ass knife,
especially in number 2, that fucking buck knife that he's got. That thing is huge. No thanks.
I mean,
there's not much to me. That's going all the way through.
Yeah, I mean, well, remember that scene too when he goes into the strip club and he just uses his bare hands and just breaks the dude's arm. Like, Tyler Mane is an ex-wrestler too. Bro's got strength.
Yep.
You know, he's the biggest sweetheart I've ever met in my life, but
I hear that about him a lot. And that's like another positive too, just like not for nothing.
Yeah.
Like just seems like a good dude.
And something too I think people also need to take into account is like, even if they like you feel this is like the worst Halloween movie, like the kind of stuff Rob Zombie just had to deal with the Weinsteins to just even get this done, and like the kind of ideas that they wanted him to put into it, like having Michael Myers wear a necklace of severed ears.
I heard about that.
That was like, it's not great. I mean, his interview with Howie Mandel, recommend that to anybody on Howie Mandel's podcast. He really goes into it, and like, even if I didn't like those movies, I would feel so bad for the guy, because he wasn't even supposed to do Halloween 2. He basically like, he kind of quit, kind of got fired, and then supposedly they fired like 10 different directors until they finally called him back.
Yeah, well, so what ended up happening was, like, I remember, like, I mean, at least what I can say from my side of viewing it from the outside looking in, like, I remember, like, all of, like I said, upcominghorrormovies.com. I don't know if that website's still around, but if it is, wonderful resource. But, like, I remember they had signed somebody on, and it was like a pair of like French directors or something, if I'm not mistaken. And Rob Zombie's contract had him baked into it no matter what. So like they were letting him walk. It was ultimately him who decided to come on, because I believe the words at the time were Halloween is an American-made horror film and it's gonna stay that way, or something like that. It was crazy, the optics of it, but it was 2008.
Yeah, he said that he was able to renegotiate his deal because he signed a 3-picture deal, but said he would come back and do number 2 if they let him out of the 3rd one.
Yeah.
And then they were like, fine, whatever. And then...
Yeah, they had somebody signed on, I remember that. There was like a pair, and I think ultimately, like, maybe who was signed on to do 3D?
Yeah, they want to do the Halloween 3D. And I'm
Have you read that script?
I have not.
Oh my god. I'll send you a copy. I don't know. I just found it. Send it to you. It's incredible. It sounds like something a 15-year-old wrote.
Nice.
Like the terminology, like the dialogue and stuff. Like it's not even just the dialogue. Like I know we're going on a side tangent here, but like it's like legitimately like the way the script is like laid out. Like exterior, a girl with big fucking tits.
Oh yeah.
Who writes like this? Who talks like this? But fuck.
He's a nice guy.
Seems like it. I think like, you know, back to like the opening sequence, like the whole nightmare scene in general is, I think, probably like the best thing Rob Zombie's ever put to film. Depending on the version you watch, I don't care for like the big pit of bodies and like the like extra nonsense that I think is part of the unrated or director's cut or whatever it is.
Honestly, theatrical for these movies
is better.
It's way better.
It's like that rare occasion where like watching theatrical like actually makes it a more enjoyable viewing experience.
Yeah.
Not saying much with the sequel. Like I said, for me, the first time I saw it in theaters, I was pretty shocked by how little I enjoyed it. But then I went on to watch it again, and I found more fun the second time. And I have that like this movie specific version of Michael Myers tattooed on me. So this isn't me sitting here like I don't hate everything about this movie. I acknowledge as I got older I found the problems. But so the hospital sequence is fucking awesome. Like the set dressing, set design, special effects and stuff like that. Like everything that went into making this movie is also so important to like highlight how fucking great like Wayne Toth as like a special effects engineer is insane. He's one of like I remember being like I would have been 15 I think when this movie 16 when this movie came out, and like I already knew exactly who he was already like like well working into like some of his older projects and stuff like that, and like dude was like my hero. I love the design for the mask. I love like the Ronnie kill in 2007. I watched like the commentary and on repeat I think, and like you can just hear, even in just talking about working with somebody like Wayne Toth, those were the moments that like Rob Zombie comes alive as the director. Like it's more enjoyable because he's then impassioned to talk about somebody else's passion, and you can see it in everything that this guy does. Because like if you like the Halloween party in Rob Zombie's Halloween 2 it's a waste of a scene. There's no point in it at all. There's no reality. Yeah, there's no narrative flow to it. There's no reality where people actually put that much love and care into their Halloween costumes. But fuck if I don't appreciate the fact that they made that scene happen.
Yeah.
Because everything looks so good. Those weird delusion scenes that Laurie has with like the Pumpkin King and shit like that, they make no fucking sense. I
always thought those were weird.
But they're cool.
They are cool.
Like that, like the imagery and stuff like that. It's so simple and so like understated, but so effective. Like there's like a scene nearing the like third act where Laurie's running through the woods, and he like the cinematography has it so that there's like one key light perfectly in the center, and there's like a tree dead center, and it's lighting everything beyond the tree, and it almost makes it look like it's like a narrow like kind of like hallway or like a corner. Beautiful. The framing of everything is so good. It's just certain things just weren't showing up to work those days. And I know that like this production in general was also like kind of marred with a lot of issues. Like they had to travel with the film, and it was shot in film, so it erased when it went through the X-ray. So they had to do a bunch of reshoots on stuff that was already a very tight schedule. And that's not to make excuses for them. It's not our movie. We don't care to do that, but it's a factor. And I think like for me, like one of those like other like little unsung positives that like I don't think he gets enough credit for is like the soundtrack. There's so much good music in these movies in general. Like like it's the song that's all over it, but like that Nights in White Satin song. Anytime I go to a Goodwill or a record store, I try to find that album by Moody Blues so I can own it, but I can't find it anywhere. So if anybody has any ideas,
drop any comments.
Yeah, please let me know. I don't want to order online. That's very important.
Yeah, there's a lot of merits that I feel this movie has that kind of get overshadowed by others, but definitely for me, overall, it's mirroring the first one. I think that the kills are pretty gnarly. I mean, to have your first kill in the movie be he walks up to a guy and cuts his head off with a piece of broken glass, like slowly, like, and that's before you even really get into the actual like meat of the movie. Now, sure, you could argue like, oh well, Richard Brake had all that like heinous dialogue leading up to it. Yeah, it's a Rob Zombie movie. You're not gonna escape that. But
it's a staple.
It was even, I noticed, shot a little bit differently. It was shot a little bit more Rob Zombie-esque than the first one was.
Yeah.
Like, the first one was very clean.
I don't know. I can't remember if the first one was shot digitally or if it was film or like what.
It feels digitally, and then the second one feels like film.
Yeah, I know. I think I know the second one was filmed, but I don't know about the first. I think like the Weinstein still had probably too much to say, and I think that was one of his demands going into the sequel was film.
Yeah. But, you know, that, as much as people kind of complain on and off, I enjoyed all of the hospital scene, you know. And I thought Scott Taylor Compton, like, yeah, like, at times her character was insufferable, but I thought she played it pretty well.
She did. I think she does a really great job at you're watching her throughout the runtime of the movie lose her mind more and more and more, and I think like that reads. It definitely reads very well. It's one of I think one of the bigger positives of the movie in general is how well that reads, because like that was a swing that you could very easily have missed, and I just don't feel that he did.
Yeah, and definitely too, going back to Tyler Mane as well, like there's something extra scary about a man that size who's just standing in the dark just watching people and no one notices. So he's literally just a shape. When I realized that he kind of just appears at times where people just aren't really paying attention to their surroundings. They're not paying attention to that, feeling that goes down your spine when something just feels off around you. And him just being twice the size of virtually everybody that's in either these movies, you can't help but feel scared, because you're like, I would be helpless in that situation. Yeah. And I think that's, for me, he's my favorite Michael Myers just for that level. Like, because, I appreciate all the other ones, and I think that all of them have brought something different to each movie or each timeline.
There's some clear...
Yeah. Some that probably weren't so great, but and maybe, like I said, going back, maybe it was a generational thing. I only saw the 1978 version because I was like, I want to see 2007, but I didn't know Halloween. I knew Michael Myers. I knew he was a slasher character, but that was my entry to it.
Yeah.
So that 07 showed me 78, and then, like I said, I just didn't follow the sequel as closely as I would had this happen now, like how I did with Kills and Ends for 2018. But maybe, like I said, with people deciding that Halloween Ends is the most atrocious thing that they saw that week, and people are kind of going back to it, I noticed a lot, primarily the visuals, I see people pointing out a lot with this movie. Like, just visually, like, how different it looks. Yeah. Not like,
are you saying it's like a negative or a positive?
No, it's a positive. Like, people the way, like, not saying that, like,
I was gonna say
this was, like,
crazy, because,
no.
like, if there's anything you can't take from this movie, it's, I'm sure there's somebody who hates the visuals of this movie, but I would say, like, consistently, that's, like, the positive that I hear, too. I think, like, another thing that, like, is, I think, like, kind of another, like, kind of little unsung hero here is,
Your Watch is Black, by the way.
Yeah, I don't know what's in there.
Okay.
Is, I think, like, the through lines that, like, he didn't have to, you know what I mean? Like, like bringing back, what's his name, like, Daniel Roebuck as, like, the owner of the Rabbit in Red. Like, certain things like that, like, he's in those first moments of the 2007 remake, but, obviously as, like, a much younger man driving Deborah to work or home or whatever it is. Like, I think that there's just, like, a cool, like, consistency that he tried to at least kind of keep in Haddonfield.
Yeah.
I think the only reason it doesn't necessarily land is because, like, I do, like, you feel that not tonal, but, like, that shift. Because I think this was shot maybe in like North Carolina or Georgia or something like that, where like they did shoot in Pasadena for the 2007 remake, and so like this has that smaller town feel in certain scenes, which I think is cool that they expand on Haddonfield in that way, because I feel like Haddonfield has so much potential to be like its own character in these movies, and rarely do they ever try to do that. Like, it feels like everything exists within like a 2-block radius, and all just within a vacuum. And obviously with the original that makes sense, they don't have the funding, and but by Resurrection, why are you isolated to a house?
Cut them corners. Give Michael Myers those eyebrows, you know?
How do we get Busta Rhymes in this thing?
Hell yeah. How don't you get Busta Rhymes in
That's what we should do. Sit down and talk about Halloween Resurrection, try to make people like that one. Fuck.
Busta Rhymes will show up for like some Triscuits and a coupon.
I'm pretty sure he would. I think he would help us sell the movie. That would be that wouldn't even be like a series of Let Me Explain. That would just be a series.
Yeah.
Like,
obviously, if the Weinsteins had just like thrown in $7 more to the budget, he probably would have shown up. I mean, that's my guess. General estimate. I'm no accountant, but you know.
I think another great thing is like her friends. Her friends are so annoying, but like so endearing at the same time that like there's like almost like a bitter sweetness to them dying, especially like the second, like the blonde girl.
Yeah. It's kind of interesting. He took what should have been like cliches, like the very sweet character, and then the more like extroverted like party character, and they could have just been the typical cookie cutter, you know, straight to the point versions like we always see. He made them feel more like, okay, I can see her being friends with both of these girls, and I can see those girls being friends with one another. There wasn't at any point where I felt like I'm like, yeah, this trio wouldn't be a thing. Like, I can, especially in like a small town setting, you're like, all right, they're working this like hippie, what was it, like a bookstore or something like that?
Yeah, it was like a record store.
Yeah, a record store. Like, I could see all three of them working there, and I could see all three of them.
Like Uncle Meats, something like that.
Yeah, the dude that talked about like capitalism. Yeah, and the corporate man.
And for me, just off the top of the old dome, another huge positive that's actually fucking crazy movie we haven't brought up. Brad Dourif.
Yo.
In general, like
Oscar.
Just existing, but that fucking scene, and you like everybody who is watching this who cares enough to have ever seen Rob Zombie's Halloween 2 knows exactly what I'm talking about when I say that scene.
You know it's in the director's cut?
Yeah.
That's wild.
It's so fucking good.
It's
so good.
Brad for president.
Yeah.
In that scene.
It's crazy because like. Yeah.
You felt it.
Yeah, you feel it. Like, as a 15-year-old boy, I was like, fuck, man. Did my daughter just die? Like,
yeah.
It breaks you a little bit. And now, like, growing up and becoming, an adult and everything, and, like, having my own child and stuff, like, rewatching that scene hits so differently, too. Like, it sucks to, like, put yourself in that headspace, obviously, and you never want to do it, but he does such a good job at conveying that emotion and that, like, raw feeling. You kind of can't help it.
And to piggyback off of that, like, there were times where I saw people be like, oh, that just happened to him. The next scene, it's like nothing ever happened. I'm like, no, the next scene, he's numb. And he even says, like, when they're like, oh, we found where Michael Myers is, he asks there's that small little detail that Rob Zombie threw in, and he's like, I'm going to need you to drive.
Yeah.
Because he knows realistically, any dude who just found his daughter like that, he's not going to be thinking
they're
straight.
They're not like, operating heavy machinery. Yeah. It's not going down like that.
And then the following scene, when Loomis shows up and you see the rage, you're like, that's exactly how one would act.
I think he's meant to be read as, like, despondent in that scene. I don't think it's meant to be that he's, like, just like, oh, I'm fine now. Like,
exactly.
I'm coming down off this. Like, no, he's in shock. He just found his daughter brutalized.
Yeah. It's the small things like that I think. So I mean, we're approaching 20 years on this movie in a few years already. If you think about it, and I'm wondering if it like when this does reach 20 years, like are people gonna look back and be like, oh, okay, that movie
crazy.
Yeah.
Sorry.
The first one's 20 years and 2 years. So, yeah. But I'm wondering if people will look back, like I feel like they're already starting to, and they're like, you know what, this movie actually wasn't as bad. Because right now they're still in the, like when I tell someone like, oh, this is actually my favorite Halloween movie, they take a breath. There was one person who told me that they hope my house burns down with me inside of it. Because the internet's a very rational place.
When I was when I was younger, I think like I said, I just didn't have like. I grew up loving the original Halloween. It's always been more or less my favorite movie of all time. Until 2007, and we got like a brand new version of it, and I think I had a lot of recency bias. Plus, I was a really big fan at the time of like the look that they went with and stuff like that, like the degraded mask and stuff like that. I thought it was all very cool, and like I still stand by it. That
Yeah, me
that
too.
design,
That
that
is
look,
something I
like
meant,
those
yeah.
elements of like that first movie kicked so much ass. But obviously, I grew up and I started to form a more informed opinion, and not because like a bunch of voices on the internet told me to or anything like that. Just more so started to like break down what my actual taste was, and was able to kind of find myself back to the original movie. There was a reason I said all this. I had a whole thing, and I was going to bring it back around. We're going to land the plane, and that's gone now.
Hell yeah.
And this is why we had it.
Exactly.
Fuck, where did it seem like I was going with that one?
Oh no, but you were very into it. So
Yeah,
I thought that would stick in here.
Yeah, I really thought I had something there. Rob Zombie got a lot of things wrong, but I do think that like the positives that he has, like, give these movies their own merit, and I think like Halloween 2 does have a lot of like questionable things in it, but I think overall, like for me at least, like I can still have fun with this movie. I can find the positives where they exist.
Yeah.
I see the shortcomings, but like I think at the end of the day too, like another thing to fucking remember is like people get so up in arms about these fictional fucking characters. Like we're talking about a character who, depending on the iteration, has been set on fire, has been shot probably 400 fucking times, has been borderline blown up, has been thrown in a meat grinder, has
Yeah, his head cut off until they retconned it.
yeah, had his head cut off, that grew back. Like there are just these things that like you can't really.
You gotta chill.
Yeah, like these movies aren't meant to be like taken so seriously, and don't get me wrong, some of these movies are our favorite things in the world. But I think even with that said, like I think that's why there's the appreciation that I think we try to have with film in general, and that's not to say that our opinions or the way we view film is better than or anything than the way that anybody else consumes. But I think ultimately like turn your brain off and just watch the fun fucking slasher movie.
Yeah, forget that life sucks for 2 hours,
Yeah,
it's
like,
easy.
You don't have to make it harder on yourself.
Exactly. Yeah, no, but seriously, like, no, you're right. Like, the things that did go right in this movie, I feel, are more of shows what Rob Zombie can truly do. Because Rob Zombie does have an eye. Even if you just watch his music videos, like, even in his earlier days,
His fucking production in general on stage is like
it's insane.
Yeah.
For me, it's just more of the script writing that's always been his biggest, like, his Achilles heel. Like, it's very much like, oh. But I feel like Halloween 2 was a stronger outing for him. And I feel like it's going to be that one in his filmography that, like, is definitely going to, it cements itself in not only his career, but in the franchise's, like, lore.
Yeah.
Or one of the many, many timelines of Halloween. And, my favorite Rob Zombie movie typically goes back and forth between this and, like, Devil's Rejects, depending on what kind of day I'm having. And that's a hot take, and doesn't happen for most people.
No,
but just for me,
I would say like I'm kind of right there with you. I think
for his movies,
I think 2007 has the edge over 2009 for me. But like it's between the two. It's between because
depends on your day.
If 3 from Hell, just don't watch it. You don't have to. Although like Richard Brake's character in the movie is a lot of fun. Unnecessary.
I got a piece of skull in my eye.
I've only seen it once, but I wore that Disco Sucks shirt for like 3 years.
You got me to wear it.
Yeah. Yeah, I did. And then what he's got 31, which I saw that in the best of circumstances. You know what I mean? Like that was set up for me to like find nothing but joy in it, and like I remember waiting so impatiently for that movie because I was still like keen on his work. And it just didn't like. I think that was like the first time I was like, oh, shit. I mean, it's not like he's put much out since, but like that was like that to me was like, oh fuck, is it over? Did he miss? And is he just gonna keep missing? And then we got Three from Hell, and then Monsters, and I think the overall overwhelming answer is yeah, he's just gonna keep on missing. But not with this movie.
Not with this one.
Nailed it.
We wanted to tell you though today.
Fuck, I don't think we nailed this one. I think we it's your favorite Halloween movie. We still talk so much more shit about this.
That's fine.
Yeah.
I talk shit about my own life all the time.
That's fair. And yeah. I like at no point in the production of this thing did anybody think like there are a lot of movies prior to this one in this franchise. And the only one before this one that you don't see Michael Myers in The Mask. That's also not a well-regarded movie at that time. People have come around to Halloween 3.
Oh, I thought you were talking about 4. Well, 4 he gets it later because remember he had the bandage on.
But I think people overall think the bandage looks cool. Like I think like that could have actually just carried that movie.
People like 4.
I think he would have. Yeah, 4 is. I mean, 4 is a good movie. It's just he looks bad.
Yeah.
And 5 is
a choice.
A movie that was made. And like also it kind of goes back and like I think that was a part of why he took Halloween 2 as well was because 5 was made by like a French director and he was very much so like trying to pull from influences like relevant to foreign horror at the time. And I don't think that was well received. I don't hate any of the Halloween movies, but I will say like that if I did, that would be the closest I can come. Would be Halloween 5. That's pretty out there, but I'm too nostalgic for it. Like I can't hate any of these movies. I don't think. I've tried. I really wanted to like get on like the fucking bandwagon and hate Halloween Ends with you guys, but I don't know. I had fun. Like it's got its flaws for sure, but none that really off put me in like the way that it seemingly did everybody else. Kills as well. I had fun. Good time.
We saw Kills together.
We did.
It was a fun time.
It was
We changed it in your car.
Yeah.
Evil dies tonight.
Evil dies tonight.
It does die tonight. You know what else dies tonight? Your negativity with this movie.
And with that said, I think that's going to be us calling this one. So,
yeah.
We haven't done this in a long time, so please like, share, subscribe. You can also find us on other social media. I'm not going to tell you how or anything like that, but you can.
We're on there.
We're on there.
We're watching.
Yeah, there is actually a Deep Red Pictures Instagram and I think a Twitter. We've never tweeted.
No. But we do Instagram.
But we do Instagram, and so you should probably follow it if you want to like kind of keep up with us. And we don't post all that often, but like we try to make like a point of like letting you guys know that we still love you. We're still alive, and we are still a team. We didn't break up or anything. I have had a very busy year, and Tyler has been incredibly patient with me. But one of the cool things that comes along with how busy I've been is this new space we get to work in together, and we're going to continue to add to this and continue to make this, Deep Red's home for, the time that I'm in this place. And yeah, but keep your eyes, your peelers peeled and watching, because hopefully this will be the start of us kind of getting back into the swing of things. But also, when we started this channel, we did have a clear intent of like making our own projects and putting ourselves out into the space. Like if we're going to talk this much shit about movies, you guys should be able to talk shit about the bad stuff we make too. So thank you guys for your time. Like I said, like, share, and subscribe. When you're hitting that like button, hit it from behind. A lot of eye contact, maybe some spit in the mouth. Thanks.